Hello, I'm Tina Tower, the founder of Begin Bright School Readiness and Primary Tutoring Centres, and since yesterday what I have come to call myself the International Correspondent and Roving Reporter for HerBusiness. So welcome to day 2 of the South by Southwest conference. Day 2 was phenomenal, like every other day, and every day is full of surprises. In fact, today was so good that I got stuck in one room, and the lines for all the sessions was so far out the door that I went 7 hours without going to the bathroom just so I didn't lose my seat. So it's a little insane. You're very dehydrated and very hungry, but it's totally worth it. So what I do today, so the first session was globalization of finance. It was the first South by session I've ever been to where I saw suits, men in suits with a tie and everything. But really interesting to learn about the rise of fintech companies, how that's working, to learn what they're doing in China and how everything's going really mobile. They're not even having wallets anymore. I do think in Australia we're quite behind on that with a lot of the tech companies that are coming through in there, and that's something that we should be looking at and accepting more. I mean, I have my Apple Watch in America that I can just tap and pay with everything, which you can't do in Australia. So there was a lot of good things there. The rise of robots and robo-advisors, which I found really interesting. For me now, if I want financial advice or want to invest in share markets, I have to see a financial advisor because I quite frankly have no idea what I'm doing. But they're saying they've got these robo-advisors that can actually look at your history, because we spend so much time online and doing all our banking and all of those sort of things. It can actually, once you've given permission, drill down into it, make customized programs for you, and then advise you on what to do. And then that way, when you're doing implementing the plan that the robot has given you, it can adjust it and give you more advice going forward, because they're saying that, you know, when you're talking to a financial advisor, you're not always telling them the truth, you're telling them about the person that you want to be and the person that you wish you were with your finances. But the robots you cannot lie to. So I thought that was really interesting too. After that, I went to a film keynote, which was by a director called Jil Soloway, which was quite challenging. It was a very divisive sort of presentation. It was very feminist focused, which, you know, I'm the first to say I am a feminist and believe wholly in equality, but it was more on that we have a genderless future, and that everything needs to be gender neutral, which I can't say I entirely agree with. I do think there's some things that naturally men gravitate towards and they're really good at, women gravitate towards and they're really good at, and I don't think that should be a bad thing. I think, you know, the point of femininity and the point of equality needs to be that whatever it is that we're good at and whatever it is that that lights us up inside, regardless of male or female, we get to do that. And that's all I'll say on that one. So from that, I went to a panel session that was all about fashion tech, but it was called something like, "Dude, why is there so many dudes in my closet?" So it was all about why, you know, women are making 70 to 80% of the buying decisions and purchasing decisions, but all of the fashion Fortune 500 companies are all owned and ran by men, and looking at publications like Glamour magazine and Vogue magazine and all of the big publications that are all mainly stories written by women and mainly edited by women, but all the publishing companies are owned by men, so it's the women doing all of the work and the men collecting all of the dollars there. And there was a really great lady, there was 4 great women on the panel, but one that I really liked was Koplovitz, who was an older lady who knew so much. You know, there's women that just talk and you just feel like giving them a round of applause, they're just that wise. And she said, you know, women are driving the creative sides of business, but not the P&L and the finance side of the business. And that's where we need to go if we want to be able to have those seats at the table. And here's a short clip about that.
It's still a tougher road for women, but actually women are starting to really learn to love the finance part of the business. That's the part that really is, that's what the business part is. And, you know, learning that is part of really growing up in a business, and I think that that's the part that really has to be developed more aggressively, and we need more women investing in women-led businesses as well.
So another point that we had out of that one was venture capitalist funds and funding women in fashion and in tech. and in all the emerging sort of industries that women are getting into. And they're saying that the issue is that we can't get as much access to finance because there aren't as many women VCs. They think around 4% of the venture capitalists are ran by women, so we're not getting as much of those. And there was a statistic around, you know, how much better off and how better women perform when they're being invested by women venture capitalist funds. So that was really interesting. Then there was a session by a lady called Jessica Doudna, who was about biomedical advances and gene something. I can't remember now, but a lot of it was all to do with diseases and genetically modifying cells so that we could create all these different things and eradicate disease and all of the ethical things around that, because you could essentially make like an Arnold Schwarzenegger superhuman guy. So that was really interesting. I like to go to many varied things in South Bay. I did sit there most of the time going, oh my gosh, thank goodness she has diagrams, because I have no idea what she's talking about, and felt like my IQ was way too low to be in the room for that one. But it was super interesting and gave me something else to think about, which was really cool. And then the last session of the day was Tim Ferriss interviewing Cheryl Strayed for a live session of the Tim Ferriss Show, which Tim Ferriss Show is one of my favorite podcasts. So, you know, I got a seat right down in front row. I was pretty excited when he walked out and sat down talking there. It was a really interesting conversation, really long, went for an hour and a half. Probably the bit that stood out for me the most was Cheryl talking about morality and the lessons that she learned from her mum dying at such a young age, into being grateful for every day and grateful for every lesson that she's learned, and knowing every day that she wakes up that it's a good day because she wakes up and she gets to achieve something, and constantly asking herself every day, if I was to die tomorrow, am I happy with the day that I'm living today? And I think that that's a really good question to ask ourselves, is if this is the last day, the last week, the last year that we have left, is this really what we want to be doing with our time? Is it worthwhile to the world, and is it worthwhile to us? So I will leave you on that note to ponder, and look forward to talking to you tomorrow with the day 3 wrap up.